What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out how US air power destroyed Russian air defense. This is by Cappy Army. He's got more details about the situation in Venezuela. What I find interesting is, as the days have gone by since this happened, we've been getting trickling news coming out. And the one that piqued my interest the most, and I said it a couple days back, was this weird sonic weapon that apparently made people bleed from the nose. We've seen these type of weapons exist. If you weren't aware, that these are quite, I wouldn't say common weapons. Like they're kind of known now that these are a thing. There was a video a long time ago or a while back of like a big crowd. I can't remember what it was, and one of these weapons like pinged right down the middle of it. And it made the crowd disperse like really, really quickly. So we know that we're well aware that these weapons exist, but were they used from Delta Force against Venezuelan security guards is another question. Now, Cappy Army's video is around 14 minutes long. Sit back, relax. I will leave a link down below to the original video. If you haven't already gone and subscribed to Cappy Army, you definitely should do. They're at 709,000 subscribers. Let's get them to 710,000 subscribers by going over there and giving them some love. There will be a link down below. Before we get started as well, as always, check out Chug. 10% off, link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. I do love these things so much. So much. I've got like, how many have I got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 of them now because I like them that much. Free customization, free bag, handmade here in the UK, ships to America. 10% off, link down below. Also, go check out Morale if you haven't already. If you love the outdoors like I do, the Venn diagram of people who love the military and people who love the outdoors is practically a circle. If you're not in that circle, that's fine. Fast forward the video. But if you do love the outdoors, check out Morale. It's a drink where we're trying to get people as outside as much as possible, raising awareness for the outdoors and how good it is for your mental health. We know that guys are struggling out there. The rate at which young men are taking their own lives is absolutely horrific, and we want to make a difference by educating people about the outdoors and getting people outside as much as possible. And if that's something you're interested in, check out the Instagram, check out the website, and check out the YouTube channel Drink Morale down below in the description. We're doing some awesome content. I'm actually going on a hike tomorrow, which I'm very excited about, and I'm going to be filming a bunch of content and making another vlog about it, so it's going to be very nice. That'll probably be out on the weekend or something like that. But other than that, let's shut up. Let's see what Cappy Army's got to say about this and see if there's any new information on top of the stuff that we already quite know a lot about at this point.
U.S. air power destroyed Maduro's $4 billion Russian and Chinese-provided defense network in just a matter of a few hours, leaving many scratching their heads asking how they did it. And is it true that the U.S. forces deployed a top-secret new advanced sonic weapon? The air campaign started in mid-November 2025, when a U.S. Rivet electronic surveillance plane started to creep off the coast of Venezuela. It was flanked by several FA-18 Super Hornets just a few miles from Caracas. But why were they doing this? Wasn't it just wasting fuel? They were creating what's called a pre-strike electronic map. Their radar systems probed the exact location of Maduro's command and control nodes. And what did that look like? Take a look at this map here. It shows leaked images of the location of Venezuela's air defense bubbles. This intelligence was leaked straight from the Venezuelan Integrated Aerospace Defense Command. PowerPoint slides.
I mean, let's be honest as well. Yeah, this was like their first thing, but you telling me there weren't CIA boots on the ground already at this point, already getting this intel, already infiltrating the systems, knowing what's going on, making the routines aware to US military? Of course there was.
Are way more cool when they're top secret. We see here, it's a layered system with overlapping air defense nodes. This is supposed to create redundancy in the system and limit single points of failure. The leaked documents revealed that one thing Maduro's forces lacked was radar detection in lower altitude range, which is a gap that American forces would plan to exploit. From this sweep, US aircraft knew that they were flying directly into the Russian, Chinese, and Iranian-provided defense systems, and on paper, Venezuela was in command of significant surface-to-air defense capabilities. But the US military planners knew that they didn't have to physically destroy everything. They only needed to neutralize their adversary's ability to coordinate. In the face of this, on January 3rd at 2 a.m., the US Air Force and Navy launched F-35.
Isn't it crazy that this feels like old news already, really? And it was only on January 3rd. like just over 10 days ago. Isn't that insane how quickly the news is cycling at the moment?
F-18 Growlers and F-22 Raptors from bases in Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and carrier decks in the Caribbean. The Air Tasking Order provided each of the 150 pilots with their routes, targets, and strike package details. The first thing the Growlers did was use its suite of sensors and jamming systems to detect these hostile radar emissions and suppress them with targeted electronic attacks. Then it launched its AGM-88 missile that hunts and
Don't know where they got that sound for that animation, but it's absolutely horrific. I hate it.
enemy air defense system emissions. Here we see video evidence of security forces firing missiles at the American aircraft, giving away their position for destruction. Then they launched their fire and forget AGM-154, which is a standoff munition that lets them shoot from the safe distance of over 100 kilometers away.
100 kilometers. My God. My God.
Precision attacks destroyed 2 of the Russian-provided Buk command centers, and when you knock out one of those control nodes, it immediately reduces the effectiveness of any of the launchers attached to it. Pieces of the missiles were later recovered from the ground and posted online. These were physically targeted and destroyed because their mid-range capabilities posed the greatest threat to helicopters. After-action reports showed that many of these launchers were destroyed while still in storage. They never even made it out of their warehouse.
Wow.
From here,
the intel they must have had for this stuff is insane, isn't it? They definitely had more than just what they're telling us. They probably knew absolutely every single vehicle in every single location and what was going on.
The F-35 sensors created what's called a God's Eye view of the battle map. This is a shared picture with the entire strike team, and it's important because at this point they're up against Russia's S-300, the most expensive and sophisticated missile defense system they had. How effective is it? According to RAND analysis on the Russian S-400, their performance in Ukraine reveals that Western missiles are intercepted about 90% of engagements due to recent upgrades. Ukraine's own S-300 systems have proved effective at intercepting enemy aircraft. So why did they fail so catastrophically here?
Because America. Because America, that's why, let's be honest.
Few reasons. In Venezuela, the Russian-provided S-300 launchers were never even activated or linked to the Chinese or Russian radar network, because the American Growler aircraft are outfitted with the AN/ALQ-99 attack pods under their wing.
Where'd you get this information? Chris from Capiami, if you're watching this, which you've probably got better things to do, but if you are, where the fuck did you get this information from? The ALQ-99 high band jammer pod. Listen. Look at the subbies. Anyway, immaturity aside, as someone who is a Royal Marines Commando, boots on the ground, this is way above my pay grade.
This blasts high-power noise at enemy radars. It's like
ask me about crayons, I'll tell you that all day.
attack pods under their wing. This blasts high-power noise at enemy radars. It's like a brute force static on a radio that drowns out everything else and overpowers radar with static. It's like yelling into a megaphone so no one else can hear what anyone's saying. This jamming bricked the S-300, and then its operators refused to even turn them on for fear of making themselves a target for deletion. Counterintuitively, US forces were then ordered to not physically destroy those S-300 systems, likely for the strategic logic of leaving room for future escalation. If you blow something up, you can't threaten to blow it up again later as a threat. On top of that, the unique geography of the region further undermines these specific systems. Russian air defense systems are notoriously optimized for flat, wide open terrain that's found specifically
wide open spaces
in Europe. But Venezuela has a mountainous coast with peaks and valleys that are a nightmare for these systems. So by plotting the right vectors, low-flying American aircraft were able to exploit radar blind spots. Russian and Cuban agents were deployed and helped to maintain these air defense systems. Russia's own state-run media TASS reported that Ivan Pavlov, a Russian working in Caracas, said that the warning systems did not work. Ivan said, quote, "The sirens weren't howling, the air defense systems seemed to be working in places, but that's not for sure. There's still silence on the television," end quote.
I tell you what, Russia must be looking at this information from this attack and thinking, for God's sake, there's not a chance, is there? There's not a chance Russia could go up against America anymore. China, maybe. China, maybe. They might have some tech that we don't know about. China, you know, they've got some good innovation over there, but a lot of it is also stolen innovation. So maybe, maybe not. But still, Russia are probably thinking, what the fuck are we supposed to do against this stuff?
Or the reason that these systems never engaged American forces is because of the political consequence of firing in a top-down, central authority dictatorship. When power is consolidated in the hands of just a few in a military, your average soldiers tend to wait around longer, waiting to get orders on what to do next instead of taking the initiative for themselves for fear of future retaliation.
Yeah.
And there were 200s of the Soviet-style 40mm anti-aircraft flak cannons, 44 of the Pechura 2M systems, and 5,000 Igla man-portable shoulder-fired missiles. So why did they all fail? The absence of seeing any of that anti-aircraft flak is very telling, I think, because even when Iran's nuclear facility was hit, we saw them fire flak into the air to prove resistance, even though they couldn't reach any of the aircraft. So this suggests that there wasn't a will to fight. And
yeah, maybe they just didn't even expect it to happen. Maybe it's not that they're just completely inadequate. Maybe they just didn't expect them to actually come in on boots on the ground and do it. I mean, no one did, really. If you think about it, no one thought that they were going to send US forces in to get Maduro, did they? Maduro. No one thought that. So it might have just been simply that.
the CIA has for decades created reports specifically assessing the Venezuelan military's will to fight. This is something that is intangible. You can't quantify it, can't count how many motivated troops there are, but many of the forces appear not to have been willing to fight for Maduro. This has some speculating that parts of the Venezuelan military received orders to stand down ahead of time, while other parts did not. Part of the reason resistance gives up in the first place is because of overwhelming firepower, and this came from appearing like you're everywhere at once. And to that point, US forces launched their first ever in history wide-scale combat use of kamikaze one-way drones. The Warzone reported an analysis of multiple combat footage clips from the ground in Venezuela.
I didn't know about this. Kamikaze drones? Why didn't I know about this? Isn't a kamikaze drone just a missile, though, at the end of the day? Especially if it has explosives on it. At this point, a lot of missiles can fly themselves, pretty much.
You could hear this distinct whining, whizzing sound that these guided munitions make. It sounds different from incoming mortars or missiles. It sounds more like a lawnmower of death overhead. These kamikaze drones themselves are based on Iranian technology that itself is based on US drone technology. They only cost about $40,000 a pop, much cheaper than the $1 million missiles. The reason
it's true, but saying only 40,000 is still for the US military industrial complex, it's absolute pennies, isn't it? Let's be honest. But still, only 40,000 instead of millions.
These drone munitions were launched is similar to holding a fake head up on a pole to lure a sniper. These drones made it so that they could identify the new locations of the road mobile launchers. These drones activate enemy air defense systems and get them to reveal their positions by either firing or turning on their radar emissions. These emissions are then locked on by American aircraft. This footage uploaded of the destroyed Chinese radar here acts as a kind of battle damage self-report for us to see. This is the first ever multi-domain air campaign that was successful, with these kind of layered effects from drones to cyber attacks that shut off power. No one on the internet outside Venezuela even knew this operation was happening.
Exactly.
In a modern world where information of events and protests and war travels instantaneously now on X, this is kind of a shocking power for us to think about. Combat footage from the ground now reveals that Maduro's security forces did try resisting by firing Igla shoulder-launched missiles at US aircraft, but they were unsuccessful with multiple attempts. But something not often pointed out is that almost none of Venezuelan military has any night vision goggles. When the lights were turned out in the city...
Wait, none of the military has night vision goggles? That's like basic equipment. Even the clerks have night vision goggles. Here in the UK, even the clerks have night vision goggles. None of the military had NVGs? Are you serious?
They couldn't see any targets to fire at. These weapons do not come standard with night vision. It's rarely seen fitted with NVGs or thermals. But even if only a few hundred of these systems were deployed effectively, they would have been a threat to helicopters, which shows how surprised Maduro's forces were.
Yeah.
Countermeasures also helped the AN/ALQ-184 pod attached to some of the aircraft act as a kind of protective bubble, and they break missile locks. At this point in the air campaign, B-1 bombers then launched their 24 onboard standoff JASSM cruise missiles from beyond engagement ranges at over 350 kilometers away. These precision strikes hit air bases and command centers. American fighters used their new next-generation jammer called the AN/ALQ-249, which jams multiple targets at the same time, and it can actually change frequencies instantly, but most importantly, it whispers sweet nothings into the enemy radar's ears. So its deception is fooling S-300 systems and other radars into seeing ghost enemies that aren't really there.
I thought we were going to talk about this sonic weapon. Maybe there's a few more minutes left of this, but to be honest, he probably doesn't have that much information about it anyway, so there's probably not much to say about it.
So when Maduro's troops were looking at the radars, they got fake aircraft locations and false speeds. What happened to Venezuela's Russian-provided interception aircraft, though? American F-22 air superiority fighters had the specific job of lurking around and waiting in the air for any enemy aircraft to engage.
There's one thing you don't want to be lurking around. It's an F-22. Can you imagine? That's the last thing you want to be lurking, isn't it? A fucking F-22. Christ almighty.
But we know from Venezuelan armed forces officers that had defected ahead of time, they had revealed that maintenance on air defense and aircraft was extremely poor, and the readiness figures were way lower than what was on paper. Intelligence from US war planners showed a 40% readiness of these systems. Venezuela's air bases were neutralized by drone and missile strikes, so the Russian-provided Su-30 fighters never even got scrambled or put into the air. They were kept grounded. American forces spared the exposed fighter jets and purposefully did not target them to leave room for future strikes if Venezuela's new president didn't comply. Leaving some assets remaining and alive allows for future escalation. But what about the sonic weapon?
There's a report, and it was shared by White House Press Secretary Cameron Bennett, that says U.S. forces used a sonic weapon in the Maduro raid. Well, there's a eyewitness who said what happened.
Because meanwhile, all of these strikes cleared an air pathway for U.S. Army helicopters to fly low in to capture Maduro. New reports of an interview with a security guard from the compound that was hit claimed that the helicopters used a new advanced sonic weapon that made all of the guards there collapse in pain. These sonic weapons likely do actually exist, and they have been used and deployed against crowds in the past in places like Siberia.
This is the video. That's the video I was telling you about, where he just clears the crowd completely.
Places like Siberia.
Watch. Mental. Look at that.
The Pentagon even recently purchased one for millions of dollars in a covert operation, according to this report.
Yeah.
But it's unclear to me if the interview there is authentic, and it could have just been effective use of flashbangs by Delta Force,
True,
which caused similar symptoms to the ones that were mentioned by this alleged Venezuelan guard.
You would expect, if they did use that weapon, which they have got it wouldn't surprise me if they did, you would expect more people to come forward and talk about it, wouldn't you? But to be honest, there's not been that many people come forward and talk about the operation itself anyway. I don't think there was many people around to tell the tale after it, was there? But still, like, you would expect a bit more eyewitness, wouldn't you, than just one person?
To the alleged testimony of the guard, once the sound weapon or less than lethal device was employed against them, Delta Force operators wiped out 32 Cuban intelligence officers and at least 24 Venezuelan guards, all of which was corroborated by the Cuban government themselves. Why would they release information about these casualties right away? It could be a way to signal to Russia, Iran, and China that they tried their best to resist, but failed.
Yeah.
According to the New York Times, while flying to the objective, the flight leader who planned the mission and was piloting the American Chinook was hit 3 times in the leg with bullets.
Oh,
revealing
shit.
just how close the mission came to a disaster of a downed helicopter over Caracas.
See, I didn't know anything about this. I heard that no one was even scraped in the US, but I guess, yeah, someone got shot 3 times. That's pretty rough, that in the leg. luckily, by the sounds, I mean, we'd know if he died. We'd probably know about it, wouldn't we?
Because apparently the Chinook was barely able to make it back to base. And if a helicopter had crashed with Delta Force soldiers being captured, the mission would have gone very differently.
Yeah, definitely.
So what does this tell us about how US weapons stack up to Russian ones? Geopolitical analyst Shaneka Perez said, quote, "The speed with which these systems were neutralized signals a catastrophic failure of Russian export air defense technology against fifth-generation Western air power."
Does it though? Does it say a catastrophic? Is it really, sorry, a catastrophic failure, or is it just a really impressive demonstration of power from America? Like, these things that Russia has are genuinely very, very powerful anti-aircraft systems. They've got very, very powerful stuff. It just so happens that US stuff is the next tier. It's a notch above everyone else. You know, it wouldn't surprise. Well, I mean, to be honest, if the US has this, the UK probably has this stuff as well. But still, the US is always going to keep a few things for itself, isn't it?
Every S-300 and S-400 customer, including China, India, and Egypt, now confronts empirical evidence that Russian systems cannot defeat American fifth-generation capabilities in operational conditions. He describes it as a strategic crisis for Moscow. Pete Hegseth, the defense/war secretary, made fun of Moscow's air defense, rubbing further salt in the wound.
Seems those Russian air defenses didn't quite work so well, did they?
Military superiority today is about more than destroying systems. It's about now multiple effects being layered together within a specific window of time. That is the new combined arms warfare doctrine. And if you like this video, you want to learn more, I think you'll enjoy this one about how the US Navy is trying to rebuild their fleet with a $1.6 trillion investment aimed to defeat China. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. Thank you for watching Ending Transmission.
You have to admit, Chris Cappy's videos are phenomenal. I don't know where. Right,
US Air Power.
I don't know where he gets some of this information, but his research is phenomenal. Whether it's him or a team is absolutely unmatched on YouTube, if I'm honest with you. I think that the way he goes into detail with this stuff, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's pretty much got everything there within this video and the other Venezuelan video. It wouldn't surprise me if he's got every single bit of information in there that is out at the moment as of recording that video, you know, because he gets into some really good detail and doesn't really leave any stone uncovered. Any stone unturned? Is that what I'm looking for? I can't even speak. I'm going to bed. It's late on Wednesday night for me. Listen, I might be going live Thursday or Friday night. I haven't decided yet, but stay tuned for that. I will leave a link down below to Cappy Army's video. Chris, phenomenal video. As always, absolutely love it. Go over to the channel, give it some love. You'd be silly not to. Check out Chug, 10% off, link down below, and go buy yourself some morale, get yourself outside, all that good stuff. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.